Hello and welcome everyone, Andy Bryan here again from the Soul Pathway, and today within this video I wanted to speak with you about love and relationship conditioning and how it shapes us over the years in terms of our relationships and the most intimate relationships we can have in our lives, because there's no two ways about it. The most significant relationships that we will ever have are those we hold most intimate to us, our beautiful sacred partners, and those of which we love and are intimate with on a daily basis, those of which we share our lives. And yet there is much conditions and programming that we hold from previous conditions and patterns from our parents and our childhood, and we bring that into our relationships, and we tend to live relationships through our parental conditioning and patterning in many ways. So today within this video I wanted to speak with you about that and also share with you my experiences as well. As this week you may have noticed on my page that I said I would have a week out to focus on myself and really reflect and let go of all those things that no longer serve me, so that I can live from my soul and from my highest calling. So today, my thoughts and reflections are about love, relationships and conditioning, and how our upbringing really shapes our viewpoints in terms of relationships and love. So I want to speak with you first of all about my upbringing, because it's very, very interesting. My parents have been married for a long time. And yet, when I was growing up, all I saw was a dysfunctional relationship. I saw arguing and, not coming to any type of agreement in many ways, and it was just constant conflict over and over again. And so, when you look at that relationship and that upbringing, all I saw was something that was dysfunctional, that wasn't actually serving each individual, but it was more so, causing more emotional upheaval with not only themselves, my mother and my father, but also with the children as well, because as we all know, that our conditioning gets passed on from our parents, which can cause emotional trauma when you go throughout your life. And I'm a big believer in the fact that if things aren't working in relationships, then we need to be honest with ourselves and say, this isn't working, this isn't constructive for myself, my partner, and even my children, because those wounds can really live on throughout your childhood if they're not in a truly loving family dynamic, which I think is incredibly sad. But let's look at those things. What are the things that really shape us in terms of love and relationships? So that if you look back at your childhood, what the upbringing that you had, how were your parents with you? What do you model your relationships on? Did you have maybe an uncle or a relationship that you connected with in many ways that showed you what love truly was? Because if you didn't have a healthy relationship to model on, then often you'll be bringing past patterns and relationship wounds into your current relationships. And that's why I believe it's really essential for us to go out about our own healing, so that we don't bring that into our current relationships, because it's very easy for us to do that if we don't reflect upon what we've gone through, what our upbringing's been like, and how it's shaped us in many ways. Because we look at films and we look at movies as well, and often we look at modeling our relationships on those films at which we watch. And in all honesty, I'm a man that does like the odd chick flick. I actually enjoy romantic films at times, very much connect with them. But often when we watch these films in a way as well, then what we're doing is we're having this very incredible, beautiful outlook of what relationships are like. If it's a romantic movie that's based on, beautiful and pure and unconditional love, and yet you've got those other romantic films or romantic comedies that are based around, conflict and people not getting on, and then obviously finding the ones that they love and connect with later on. But it's really interesting when you look at all of these conditions that shape us, whether they are through our films and the stories that we connect with, or whether they're through our parental conditioning and what they have passed on to us. Most important thing for me is really to look at how you in your love and relationships have been modeled from your parents, and how you bring that into who you are now. And if you reflect upon that, ask yourself, are you living through certain wounds that they have projected upon to you? Indirectly, obviously, it's not their fault specifically. But are you living through those wounds? Are you living through those conditions? And if you do believe you are in many ways, how can you step back, take stock, and think about, how can you move forward in a way that is going to be healthy for you and your relationships and what it is that you're going through? Because for me, that is really, really essential. Because I've spoken about ancestral wounds a number of times in my videos, and ancestral wounds can be passed down from generation to generation to generation. And if we think about that, then our mother and our father have got their own wounds that they have been passed on to from their parents, and their parents has been passed on to from their parents as well. So the cycle goes on and on and on until we decide to break that cycle, until we decide to heal and love ourselves. But that, as we know, takes time. It's not an easy process, and we need to honour the healing that we go through in order to love ourselves at the deepest and corest of levels. But when I look back at my childhood and my upbringing, and I reflect upon what I've gone through myself, I often look at the fact that in some ways I didn't feel like I was loved in many ways because of that parental conditioning and the shape of their relationship. And that's really something that I've been really thinking about, reflecting upon, so that I can really live from a place of unconditional love of self. But as I said, it is a journey, and the journey is the destination, which is a beautiful thing if we allow ourselves to connect with it. But we need to go to the depths of our healing in order to become at one with ourselves and be free from all those things that no longer serve us and shackle us, keep us shackled to our past. And what's interesting was I wasn't going to bring this up, but I did an article about Beauty and the Beast many, many years ago, and I thought Beauty and the Beast was obviously a beautiful film, and it was an amazing representation of ourselves and our own lives. You could say it as a symbolism of the fact that we are beautiful in our own rights, and it's we need to allow ourselves to connect with that. But the beast in many ways is a shadow that lives within us, that unlovable aspect of who we are. We tend to see one side of ourselves as loving and beautiful, and other aspects of ourselves as that beast where we are ugly, we're not good enough, we're not worthy, or we have repressed emotions and experiences that come up that cause us to act in a place of anger, in an act of pain. So the beast is very, very real, but you could see it as in many different ways, really. In some ways you could see it as the Stockholm syndrome. People often look at it from that respect, but For me, it's looking at the wholeness of who we are and noticing the beauty that is in the light and that is in the shadow. Noticing that the ugly side of us is only ugly to us. For we need to see the beauty that lives within that space. And that's not easy to see at times. But I wanted to move on to unconditional love. Unconditional love. What does it mean? How do we actually live by unconditional love? Because I don't. I've been trying my best to live through unconditional love and what it means. And sometimes it's not easy to live from that place, but I believe that's where we as individuals, we need to transcend our consciousness and awareness above our conditioning, above our current beliefs and patterns and behaviors, so that we can step into that place of unconditional love. Break free from all those shackles, all those beliefs and all those patterns that say things need to be a certain way. And allow yourself to be free in the meandering of what love is in those purest of moments. Because love is an emotion, love is a feeling, and love is something that we go in flow with. It's a constant flowing of emotion, really. But when we look at unconditional love, I think unconditional love in many ways is love where we placed no conditions at all. It's in many ways where we are asking absolutely nothing from our partners. But yet, how can we possibly ask completely nothing from our partners? For we want to give and receive love, don't we? But even the act of giving and receiving is placing condition on it, is it not? In some ways it is, but I think it's essential for us to have that flowing of emotion between two people. It is about giving and receiving, but it's also about honouring oneself. I believe unconditional love is allowing the one you love, setting the one you love free to be who they are, to live life in their own ways and on their own terms. It doesn't need to be what my beliefs are on love, because I can say, I'm going to project this upon to you because these are my beliefs, these are my ideas. Now, what I'd love for you to do is live through love in your way. Act out of love through your experience, and allow yourselves to come together in those moments as well, so that you place no conditions on it, so that you put no boundaries on what love should or shouldn't be. Because the truth is, we know it's not as easy as that. We know we need to step back, we need to honour what it is that we're going through, what it is that we're experiencing, and as I said, really embrace all that is. But that's something that we all need to work through. I've been thinking about this a lot when it comes to my own deep and personal relationships and what I'm experiencing in my life. And I've been finding it challenging to not place my own expectations on situations, to allow those that I love to be free in who they are. So that is really what I truly want. But these are my meandering thoughts, so I may be going on a bit in certain areas, but what I'd love for you to do is reflect upon what love means to you. How do you act from a place of unconditional love of self, and even those you connect with on a daily basis? Because if we think about it in our most intimate relationships, we can also think about it with those that we connect with on a daily basis as well, which could be our family and our friends, anybody that we connect with. Acting from a place of unconditional love is allowing people to be free to do what is true and right for them, and really honouring that within yourself and honouring that within them. We also need to recognise the fact that those that we connect with on a daily basis are on their own journey, or on their own soul pathway. They're growing and evolving in their own way. They're transcending their own consciousness. And with that in mind, you may not be a part of their journey at certain stages, because they need their own space to heal in order to reintegrate, in order for them to love themselves. And I've definitely found this in many of my relationships, whether it's friendships or whether it's family relationships or even those intimate relationships. It's really been important for me to acknowledge my own space of healing, so I can love myself and what it is that I'm going through, but also setting boundaries so that others respect my own place of healing, so that I can love and honour myself. So I often put boundaries in place where I don't want to see people at certain times. It's not because I don't want to connect with them, it's not because I don't love and care for them. It's because I'm going through my own healing process, and I need my own space, I need my own time. And in some ways I don't come to a place in my life where I don't want unnecessary conflict. I don't want unnecessary pain. So I'm choosing certain actions to come from a place of peace and harmony in my own life, so that I can be who I am. So these are my thoughts and ideas when it comes to love and relationship conditioning. But I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what it is that you're experiencing in your lives when it comes to conditioning, when it comes to our relationships. How has your upbringing been with your parents? Were your parents divorced at a young age, and how did that affect you in your upbringing? How did it affect some of the issues that are coming up for you? Maybe issues of abandonment or self-worth, because you felt as if you weren't honoured and loved in those situations. And I know through interviewing many people that they have gone through that when their parents have gone through a divorce. Not that their parents don't love them, but in the process of separation, one parent has to live in one place and the other parent lives in another area. And so, in that process, a child can feel very abandoned. And so we bring that into our relationships again. So ask yourself, what was your upbringing like with your parents? Were they in constant conflict like I feel mine were? And do you feel like there are some wounds that you need to heal around that area? Because I believe all of us have things that we need to heal when it comes to love and relationships, especially when it comes to stepping into unconditional love at the highest vibration. Because I believe in regards to consciousness, individual consciousness within ourselves and the collective consciousness, I believe what we're learning to do at the moment collectively is learn about unconditional love and what it means to the highest degree, whether it be with our intimate relationships again, those we share our lives with, whether it be our family and our friends, those we meet on a daily basis. How can we act from a place of unconditional love and place no conditions on the experiences and situations? Because again, it's not easy, but we need to find that place and space so that we can live in the present, we can love ourselves, and we can love those that come into our lives without placing any expectations on them, who they are as individuals, because they are leading their own lives, they are being their own individuals in person. They've got their own healing processes to go through, and we need to honour and love all those people that come into it. So I want to finish off by saying that I want you to notice that you are beautiful and amazing in the person and individual who you are. What I would love for you to do is honour the light and the darkness that lives within you. Honour those spectrum of emotions, whether they are the beautiful love and joy, whether they are the sadness and the pain that you're experiencing. Because this is all about wholeness. We can't disregard one aspect and only live in love and light. Because if you look at this beautiful forest that I'm in today, each and every tree that you see is casting a shadow. Much like myself, I'm casting my own shadow. And you could say that is a metaphor for ourselves as we learn to heal ourselves and our own shadow. But I just find it interesting how some of us choose to ignore the fact that we have a shadow. We disregard the experiences that we're going through. We let feelings pass. We don't allow ourselves to resolve them. And then we think, why are we having certain repeated patterns coming in our lives over and over again? And it all comes back to that process of needing to heal ourselves and whatever it is that we're going through. So I will let these people pass and I'll finish off this video. So bear with me a moment. Yeah. So finally, I want you to think about all those things. You know, how can you love the wholeness of who you are and love yourself unconditionally as well, without placing any expectations on who you are? Because it's not just about other people, it's also about yourself. Because in many ways, your journey is a journey of self-love, and you need to honor and love the wholeness of who you are. What I will say is thank you for listening. I hope you found this video to be valuable and useful. It's a longer video than useful, but I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below, and I look forward to hearing from you. Bye for now.